just wanted to talk about what I do personally to feel safer when I'm riding on roads in Australia or elsewhere around the world. So this is based on a lot of experience. I've done a lot of riding all around the traps. I'm not trying to sound like an idiot here, singing my praises, but I think it's important to say that what I'm talking about here is based on a lot of experience, a lot of riding, and it's what I personally do to try to feel safer when I'm riding on the road. And I don't want to talk about the whole political thing about, sharing the road and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to be political in this. I just want to talk about practical things, like what I actually do to try to feel safer on the roads. And I guess the thing is, you can never be 100% safe, not in anything that you do in this world. Just going for a walk down the road, anything can happen. So you can't be 100% safe, but there's things that you can do to feel safer. And I think with the race, like say the Indian Pacific Wheel Race, it feels like we're at a turning point where it's sort of like, it feels like a lot of people after this year, feels like a lot of people are almost, running away, giving up, thinking, oh yeah, it's not safe to do this sort of stuff. But I think, so it's a turning point. And I think we need to show that no, it is. We can do this in a way that's got an acceptable level of safety. And so that's why I want to talk about what I do personally, because I really think as cyclists on the road, what we forget is that we've got complete control, 100% control. And I'll talk through exactly why. So I think a few things, and I've used my unicorn pen to make some notes here. So first of all, visibility is obviously an important thing, and visibility comes in three aspects. So there's clothing, there's lighting, and then I'll put reflectives in another component as well. So obviously with clothing, so with visibility, what's that about? It's really saying, okay, we'll do our bit to stay visible out there on the roads. Okay, so if there's drivers out there who are not on their mobile phone, they are consciously watching on the road, it's removing that smidsy example that so often we hear about, the sorry mate, I didn't see you. So we do need to do our bit to stay visible out there. So it's contrasting clothes, bright clothing, and I don't think people just think it's just wearing bright clothing, but I think it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can wear contrasting clothing, which is important. You can wear bright socks, or as Teef here has got on a bit of a feather boa.
It's more conventional methods. And you can go from high vis to party.
She's got a high vis straight to the party. So yeah, everyone's got their own techniques. But I think bright socks as well is a great thing. One thing I'll talk about a bit more is the importance of having reflectives or high visibility stuff on moving parts. So socks are a great thing. Bright colours moving around is great. Lighting is clearly critical. You've got front lighting and you've also got rear lighting. One thing that people often forget is to have redundancy, have backups, have multiple rear lights, switched on, but also have a spare light as well. Carry spare batteries if you're running battery operated lights. You don't want to run out of batteries. It's worthwhile having two rear lights on, so that way if one of them conks out for whatever reason, you can always have the other one on. Another component to think about with rear lights is they're often not as robust as some of the more higher powered front lights that we use for seeing on the road. So what I do often is I'll tape up the outside, or put some petroleum jelly or something like that around the outside to seal or protect it from water ingress as well. So that's another thing that's worth doing, because I've had plenty of rear lights pack up due to water. There are some really good lights that incorporate reflectors in them as well. Reflectors are worth having on your bike too, but I think if you can incorporate a reflector into your rear light, it's a much better solution. So it's functioning in low light as well when drivers have headlights, as well as the the flashing light itself. I think another thing with lights too is some people will throw them on the back of their helmet too. You've got to think about your body position when you're doing that too. If you're in the tasks in the aero bars, well, that light's often going to be pointing up at the sky. It's not going to be doing anything. So lighting's clearly important. Reflectives is the third part I wanted to talk about. And reflectives come in a number of components. It's not just wearing a high-vis vest with reflective bands on it, retro reflective strips. It's not just that. So I think what the studies show into visibility is it's really important to have reflectives on moving parts. So by moving parts, we're talking cranks, we're talking your ankles. They're great places to have reflectives. So ankle straps are fantastic, and we've got some props floating around. Oh yeah, we've got the ankle strap in here. So yeah, ankle straps are fantastic. Here's one. Oh look, it's a... If I can open it, my hands still don't work after roasting the rock. There we go, IndyPack slap band. So you can strap that around your bike, or I just like to have it around my ankle at all times. So we've got the...
Zoom in on those socks there.
We've got some nice unicorn socks as well to match the unicorn pen.
Yeah.
But anyway, ankle straps are definitely worth wearing. Often out on the highways, I'll wear them all the time. I think we've included that as a requirement on the IndyPack as well. So that's, ankle straps are important. What's also great as well, I mentioned it, reflectives on moving parts. Reflective tape, just like this. There's other 3M tape that you can get as well that's great. Put that on your cranks, put that on your seat stays, put it on the back of your seat tubing. You can put it on the back of your shoes as well, which is fantastic. There's some other great reflective clothing coming out too. There's entirely 360-degree visibility vests that are around. There's entirely reflective shoes, which are actually better than the vest because they're moving, which is fantastic. The other thing too that you can do, and this is something that I'll always do as well, is these straps here, you can dangle them off the back of your saddle pack, that sort of thing. There's always somewhere to attach these, and again, it's something that's probably moving around a little bit. Anything that's moving and reflective is great for visibility. Okay, Teef, what did I just forget?
Cheeky. Reflective stickers for helmets. So we were talking about adding lights and whatnot, but they're actually handy little stickers that can go, these can go in your bike stall, but towards the rear of your helmet, or even on the side too, because you've always got traffic coming from side streets. And these work just as well. So you just plaster these on the back of your helmet, cover your whole helmet, and then just ward off everything, UFOs, cars, everything. So that's something else to think about. I'm a big fan of the slap bands around the wrists, and they're really easy.
Around the ankles?
Yep, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Ankles. They go around the wrist. I'm thinking when I wore them in the 80s.
Yeah.
They can also go on your bike too, so you're not limited to putting them in around your ankles. You can pop them around the top tube and things like that.
Okay, the second thing I wanted to talk about is riding style, because there are a couple of circumstances that I think, I'm personally wary of when I'm riding. I think one situation that's always pretty dangerous is when the sun's low in the sky, sun glare. Always try to be mindful of what the driver might be able to see behind you or not see. So if there's sun glare, if you're struggling with some sun glare up ahead on the road, the driver behind you is going to be struggling to see you. So it's always worth being wary in those situations. Another thing which is really important on roads where there's not much of a shoulder is when there's oncoming traffic. So what I like to do is if there's a car coming the other direction, the first thing I'll do is check to see what's behind me. If there's a car coming towards me from behind, that might be a situation where I'll need to get off the road if I don't think they're going to be slowing down. This gets back right to what I was talking about at the start. I think what I think gives me complete control when I'm on the road is riding with a mirror. So I won't ride with a mirror when I'm commuting around Melbourne because I think you're at the whim of the passing traffic. There's so much traffic coming past that it's not really worthwhile. But here's why I think a mirror is important when you're out there on the highways. The mirror is really the last resort for you. It's the last thing that's in between you and and trusting whoever's driving behind you. If you ride with a mirror, you can have a quick look. You hear a car approaching, have a quick look or scan down and look at the mirror every now and then, and you'll see a car coming up behind or a truck or something. You'll see them move. As soon as you see them move, well then that's when I'll relax and I get back to looking straight ahead, and I'll go. If I'm not comfortable that they're going to move, if I haven't seen them move in the mirror, well then I might just get off the road. That gives me total control of what's going on out there. Also, if you're out on the highways, there's not much of a shoulder, you see a truck coming from straight ahead at you, you can check in the mirror quickly to see what's behind you, and you know you're going to be, if there's nothing there, you know you're going to be okay. If there is something coming behind it, perhaps another truck, well in that situation I'll get off the road. Because there's not much room for the trucks perhaps, and it's difficult for them to slow down. They're driving incredibly heavy vehicles at high pace, so it'd be hard for them to slow down, so I'll just get off the road in that situation.
We've spoken about that a little bit with some of the rides we've done, where if you may be sharing the road with people when there's oncoming traffic, it's all very well to alert people to cars coming forward, but it's always good to double check that there's not someone coming the other way.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's a good habit to get into.
Yeah.
It's one you've got me into, is to not just acknowledge the car in front, but to check over my shoulder constantly.
Yeah, well that's the first thing. You see a car in front of you, first thing you do is check to see if there's
behind
anything coming behind. And just on the, out on these big races or on big trips, having a mirror there just makes it so much easier. For me it feels like that gives me control back. If there's a driver that's sitting there texting or doing something on their phone and they don't see me, well, that gives me protection against that scenario. If there's a driver that's sitting there that's falling asleep and they just, they don't see me, they're distracted for whatever reason, then that gives control back to me. In sunglass scenarios, if I can't see very well ahead, I can always see well behind me in a mirror. It always gives control back to me. And I think really, if we're in a situation where we're not happy with the conditions on the road, we can always pull off. We've got control. We've got total control of what we do. We can pull off and wait. Wait. Have a sandwich. I don't know.
5-minute power nap when racing.
5-minute power nap. Pull off and wait for a bit. Have a snooze. If you're not entirely happy with the situation out there, pull over, because the traffic will die down. The situation will pass. It'll change. Who knows? Traffic might get busier. Maybe it will settle, but it's going to change. So have I missed anything?
I don't think so. Did you show examples of mirrors?
Oh yeah, I haven't shown examples of mirrors.
They're really good for beauty products too. So you can see traffic that's coming and then you can check that you look good.
The thing to look for in a mirror is having a nice clear mirror. So you can buy some of these really crap ones that have a plasticky mirror, but that isn't really all that visible.
It's not reflective.
But you can get some that are much bigger, have a bigger surface area, and the mirror works well. And why is that important? Well, you might think, a tiny little mirror might be great, but if you're riding on a really rough chip seal surface, your bars are going like this, which means your mirror is going like that.
Distorted.
So you can't see a thing. So you need to have a mirror that's going to be big enough to work well. These have started coming out recently too, which I really like. They're wrist-mounted mirrors, so you can stick them. You actually stick them on the wrist, and then you can adjust the angle of it by the Velcro down here. Tighten it up. It's like a wristband, and that's actually a really nice way to do it. I haven't used one of these on a big trip yet, but I think I might do on one of my next ones coming up. I've usually used one of something like that.
Or a helmet mirror.
Yeah, I've used a helmet-mounted mirror before. I used one of those in the Trans Am. It was cool because you kind of feel a bit like a dentist. Apparently I had mine mounted all wrong and everything because I didn't really know how it all worked. They suspected that was maybe because I was from Australia. I had it on the wrong side. But anyway, I really think a mirror is what gives us back that control. One other thing I wanted to talk about as well is which traffic out there should you be worried about? Well, you get blown away here.
Windy. We'll talk about weather next.
What sort of traffic should you be worried about? With races like the Indy Pack, people always talk about trucks and that sort of thing, and you know, they're worried about trucks or they're worried about night time. So here's my take on it. I think based on a lot of experience riding on roads around Australia and elsewhere around the world, I think trucks are professional. The drivers of trucks are professional drivers. They're the gentlemen of the road. They will give you as much room as they possibly can. I've taken videos of this when I've been riding. I'll say, have a look at this. The truck will give me as much room as possible, and out it will pull. They're the professionals. They are the absolute gentlemen of the road. And so that's why in a situation where, you know, if there's a truck coming for me from the front and I notice a truck coming from behind, well, I'll get off the road because I know that when the truck sees me and he's got room, they're going to give me, or they're going to give me as much room as they possibly can. So in that situation, which is pretty rare, I'll get off the road and let them pass.
It's common sense. It happened a bit to me on the
Yeah.
Indy Pack. It's just two trucks coming in close range that fast. It's a simple decision, to move off the road.
Just get off the road and give them a wave as they go past. And I think as well, it's our duty to them as well to be as visible as possible out on the road, just to make sure they can see us out there too. So trucks, absolutely not worried about. The traffic that I'm definitely worried about when I'm on the road is usually tourist traffic, mostly caravans. I think that's where sometimes I can actually get lulled into a false sense of security with my mirror, because I can see that the driver has pulled out, but what I'm not accounting for is the fact that they don't know where the back of their caravan is. So they'll often give you plenty of room as the car comes past, but they'll swerve in too soon, and the caravan might come in and get really close.
Same as trailers.
Yeah, trailers as well. It's another scenario. So that tourist traffic is the real worry for me when I'm out there. You know, this is outside of, when I'm not talking about the general commuter traffic that you get in a city, but out there on the major highways out there, it's really that tourist traffic that I'm more worried about. Obviously, there's some other traffic that you've got to look out for in Australia. If it's worth knowing if there's a B&S ball, Bachelors and Spinsters ball on anywhere, because the young fellas like to give cyclists a bit of a razz up. You might have some drinks thrown at you, that sort of thing. But that's a pretty rare occurrence. And but really the trucks are the gentlemen of the road. They're nothing really to worry about. And riding at night as well, people often would say to me, "Oh, aren't you worried about riding at night? Isn't that's super dangerous, isn't it?" But I think riding at night, I feel the safest of any time at all, because you're lit up, so people can see you, but it doesn't matter how reckless a driver might be on the road. They've got their lights on in order to see where they're going out there on the highways, and you can see them from miles away. We've had rides where we'll be riding along the highways in the middle of the night, and we'll say, "Oh, there's a car coming," and then we'll wait.
For ages.
And we'll wait. And we'll wait. We might wait 5 minutes, and then the car will eventually come past. You can see them coming from miles away.
Trucks even more.
Yeah. And so night riding, you can see them coming from miles away. So if you're worried about anything out there, you can just jump off the road easily. So night riding isn't a worry, really.
What do you want to know?
Where do you feel least safe riding?
My street. I live on a very busy road. For people that live in Melbourne that know Lower Plenty Road, you'll know it's carnage. I ride home every day on my footpath because I don't feel safe on the side of my road that is all about 300 metres to get to my house. I feel safer on the Nullarbor riding near road trains than I do riding up my own street. It's crazy because you'd think in a more localised area where people are used to seeing people on bikes that the message of safety would be clearer. So commuting to work or commuting anywhere, commuting to the shops, I'd be easily every day there'd be one close miss. Whether it's someone who hasn't seen me, someone that's driven too close through a roundabout. Roundabouts are my favourite. When people try and race you to the roundabout to get through before you do, that's a daily occurrence. Not many roundabouts on the Nullarbor, so you can tick that one off your list. But yeah, the day-to-day commute through the city is crazy, and that's where I feel unsafe. People talk about these races being dangerous. It's the furthest thing from it. So yeah, much safer in the middle of nowhere.
So why do you feel safer out on these long bike tours or races? Why do you feel safer?
I think there's less distractions for motorists. I mean, surely, like, you know, when you're out and tourists and all that out on these longer stretches, they're more alert to their surroundings, I think, to some extent. Build up areas, especially Melbourne, everyone's distracted. Everyone's distracted by their phones or having to get somewhere quickly, thinking that, you know, or when it rains. It's just, I don't know, there's the people just seem more frustrated in cities in their cars. It's almost like cars want to beat cyclists to get to their destination.
I think they want to beat each other as well.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's very different. I feel more relaxed when I'm away from the city. I think motorists probably do too. And you talk about reasons why we do these races. It's a good escape from our daily commute. You know, riding should be about fun. These races, despite what people think, are a lot of fun. We spend every day commuting to work and hoping we're not going to get sideswiped by a car, so why wouldn't you want to do these races? It's a chance to get away from the busy and the horns and the short side swipings of cars and the noise and all that kind of stuff. So that's another really big plus to these races. So not just limiting that to Australia, that's anywhere. So
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You actually feel safer out there on these races, out there, say on the Nullarbor or in the middle of nowhere. You feel safer on riding in those conditions than you do on your daily commute, which is kind of crazy. So it's sort of like you kind of do these races to escape the danger of the cities in a way.
No one can hear me sing out there either.
Yeah, your singing is horrible. Where I feel most at risk is commuting through suburban Melbourne every day to go to work, maybe 15 or 20 k's, I don't know what it is. That's when I feel most at risk. If I'm riding through that sort of traffic, that's when I feel most at risk. Where do I feel safest? I feel safest out on the highways. I feel safest out on the highways at night, to be honest. That's my safest place for riding on the roads as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think the most dangerous thing I've ever done on a bike is really just commute through traffic to my place of work each day. I think that's the most dangerous thing I do in life, which is sad in a way. But yeah, these races and these long bike tours that I've done, I feel a hell of a lot safer out there.
Crazy, huh?
Should people run away from these things?
No, running away from this conveys the message that we're saying it's unsafe. We're installing fear into people by saying that, you know, these races are dangerous. It's the message of being safe on the roads shouldn't be limited just to a localised conversation. Like, it should be across all platforms of cycling, whether it's these enormous races or our daily commute. But definitely not. It's by getting involved in these races, we're enforcing that message.
I think doing these races is probably a lot safer than other forms of cycling.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a lot safer than commuting to work.
Absolutely. So I need to get a job in Perth. Just ride to Perth every 15 days. It's fine. It's fine. Just be like an Uber delivery person. It's very liberating being out there, and that was one thing I absolutely loved. And I know we keep coming back to the Nullarbor stretch, and it has such a rap for being this long stretch that's just mind-numbing, and there's nothing there, and there is nothing there, and that's brilliant. It was very beautiful out there, but yeah, it's just that you get to breathe. You get to remember what riding your bike is about. It's meant to be enjoyable. You're not meant to get up in the morning and be stressed about riding to work. That's not a good way to start your day. So that's a big plus to these races.